Hi, this is Heather Noel from the GivingGameFoundation.com, and I'm here with my good friend Patrick Wise. Hi, Patrick.
Hello, Heather. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you. What I'm so excited about having Patrick here today is because I had the most amazing experience take place a couple of weeks ago, and I would like to just share a little bit, and then I'm going to ask Patrick to give you some further information so that everyone will understand this call a little bit better. But what happened was back in August of 2020, Patrick introduced me to something called a Healy, and okay, Patrick, this is where I'm going to have you just give them a quick definition of the Healy, okay? Could you do that for me?
Sure. Yeah, so the Healy is, in the most basic terms, it's a wearable frequency wellness device. And basically what it's doing, we know that everything at its most basic form is energy and vibration. And so what the Healy is able to do in a very simplistic way is to read your energy and vibration and then deliver the optimal frequency or vibration for you for whatever you're wanting to work on. And it could be physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Because everything is energy and everything is vibration, the possibilities are actually endless. So it uses an app either on your phone or on a tablet. And, there's a lot of work that goes on, obviously, behind the scenes, but you don't have to be a frequency wellness expert to use the Healy, and that's honestly the whole point. The whole point is to be able to have this in your hands and use it at home so you're not running to the doctor, the chiropractor, the acupuncturist, every week to be healthy. Not that you want to still do those things. This will just supplement that.
So, and there was something that I heard, and maybe you can explain this just really quickly, but
sure.
Someone was talking about the idea, I think this is on a video that I watched, but they talked about the idea that, like, if you took a supplement, let's say, the body cannot tell the difference between a physical supplement or the vibration of that supplement.
Yeah, Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about this a lot. But again, if you think about it in the most basic form, everything is energy and everything is vibration. So whether you put an apple in your mouth, whether you drink a glass of water, or whether you take a vitamin B, a vitamin K, an opioid, or any medicine that you put into your body has a specific purpose. So when you take the pill, or you take the supplement, or you eat the food, or drink the water, it has a specific energy and a vibration that is going to do something in your body. So when you take the supplement or the medicine or the pill, it has to go through the fire of the digestive process. So it actually loses about 90% of its efficacy. But if you just use frequencies and vibration, it bypasses that whole process. So you're getting 100%, 80, 90, 100% of the intended purpose. So that's really cool.
That is so cool. Well, okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to step back for a moment now that thank you for explaining that. So back in August, my daughter and I got a Healy, and then I had some technological difficulties, and I just kept not quite getting it figured out. And it was actually just that my phone wasn't updating because I thought it was automatically updating, and it wasn't. And because it had stopped updating, because it was an little older phone apparently. So anyhow, it took me 9 months to finally go, that's it. I am going to use this thing. But then I still hadn't done anything yet. But I sat down for lunch one day, and I picked up a book that had been sitting on my coffee table for 6 months. And I just flipped open to this chapter on Tesla, and it was called Tesla's Hidden Medical Devices. And I'm just going to say that at the end of our talk, this chapter is included. One thing I want to quickly say that came out in this chapter was that Tesla had created this thing called the Tesla coil. And the medical mafia basically had shut it down. But doctors used to take it to people's homes. This device was so amazing, and it worked incredibly well. And Tesla just wanted to get it out into the world, so he didn't charge people to use the patent, and he just let them use it for free if they were willing to put it together and sell it. And it was actually in the Sears catalog. So his devices are still out there. They're in veterinary medicine. They can take, a horse can break a leg, like these really fancy show horses, race horses, and in 2 weeks of putting this coil on their leg, it will heal the leg, and they can go back on the racetrack in 2 weeks. And there's all these amazing things it can do. Then the veterinarian people told the folks in the sporting industry, and if like some guy broke a collarbone or whatever, that's, same thing. They put the coil on, he'd be healed in 2 weeks, back in the game. But we don't hear about it. But it turns out it is in hospitals. You don't even know that they're there, first of all. But first you break a leg, and you get a cast. If that doesn't work, they operate and put pins in your leg. If that doesn't work, then they'll put the Tesla coil on the leg and heal it in 2 weeks. Now, why don't they do it in the beginning? Because they can't make any money off of it. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, I got to find this device. So I got online, I started searching, and I was like looking at stuff that was, $15,000, $20,000 kind of a thing. And I'm like, there's got to be another way. And then I went, wait a minute, I've got a Healy. And then I contacted Patrick, and Patrick said, oh, there's this new Healy coil. And I'm like, you mean, does this have something to do with Tesla?
Tesla, he was a man ahead of his time, and he was all about frequency. He was all about vibration. He was all about free energy. But, that is what he was most famous for. But like you were saying, he was also into health and wellness. I mean, he was just one of those geniuses that was channeling amazing information. And so one of the things that he figured out, and again, I'm not a scientist, but with the Tesla coils, he figured out that if you use two coils together, that it creates what's called a 0-point field or zero frequency field. And so, again, not being a scientist, what I believe that it does is that it cancels out all the energy, and it allows the frequency and the vibration to enter your body a lot easier and a lot deeper. And also I believe that it has the ability to bridge the gap between what we call our information field or our bioenergetic field and the physical body. So that is where, the technology it's just really, really next level. I mean, just using frequencies and vibration to bring your body into balance, bring your body into resonance is what the Healy is all about. And you can use it really for anything, from sleeping, for pain, for wanting to have more positive thinking.
It is amazing.
Tesla knew what was going on, and luckily we have people, alive today that have carried on with his ideas and with the science, and it's available.
It's amazing. And by the way, when you get a chance to hear the part about Tesla at the end of this, the chapter I was talking about, this was so shut down that if anyone was a doctor who used anything to do with Tesla's devices, they would lose their medical license. They coined the word quack, and they would apply it to these doctors. No college could keep their license to licensed doctors unless they, towed the line and did what they were told. So the fact that this is available is so amazing.
Things haven't honestly changed that much. In the United States, the Healy is FDA cleared for pain relief. That's what it's cleared for. Now, in Europe, it is also cleared for to help with anxiety and depression and different things like that. So that's what it's FDA cleared for. And to get that, I mean, I think we had to submit like 40,000 pages worth of scientific experiments and different stuff like that. It's not easy to get anything through the FDA. Healy's only been available in the United States for a year. And, it's a new technology. It's something, it's literally one of a kind. There's nothing else really even remotely like it in the price range that it is. So the company, which was a German company, which was high quality, I've always thought that it was undervalued. Like when I found out what it could do, and then I found out the price, I was like, okay, that's cool. But coming from I have a business background, and I'm like, if I was running the show, it would be a little bit more expensive. But I understand they were getting it out. They were getting it out to people. So what's happening is that right now you can get the Healy Resonance, which has all the programs. It gives you the ability to send the frequencies through microcurrents. You can actually hook little wires and electrodes or wristbands, to it. So it actually is sending the frequencies into your physical body. Or you can vibrate frequencies to yourself into the information field. And that might sound like very Star Trek-y, and it kind of is, which is cool. But it works. You can also scan yourself to find out what you need most right now in that moment. And so that takes a lot of the guessing game out of it. So it's really it's a miracle, really, is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
And so right now you can get that for $1,500. July 1st, it's going to go up to what I think the actual value is. It'll be $5,000 for what they're going to call the professional model. And that's going to be more geared towards doctors' offices, clinics, people that have professional practices. But you can but up until July 1st, you can have that same exact thing in your home, in your hands to use on yourself, your family, your animals, your friends, and all of that stuff. So now's the time. So if you're hearing this, there's a reason for it. If you can't afford that, totally understandable. You can come in at lower options, and then we can help you navigate. There's all kinds of different ways to earn free upgrades and different stuff like that. But those are more individualized, so we won't go into it. Just know that it's possible.
I was just using the regular Healy, and what they tell you to do is use this program. I think it was called the Gold program, and I picked this one called Pure. And they just say, do this for, once a day for 3 days until your body gets used to it. Don't overdose. So I'm being well behaved, and I'm doing what I'm told. So the point I want to make is I was not focused on pain relief or anything. I was just using it. But prior to this, back when I was a child, I started riding horses when I was 9, and I ended up jumping and doing a lot of stuff and riding a lot, and I fell off a lot. And I got to say that I never went to a chiropractor. That was unheard of back in that time. It was back in the 70s, 60s, 70s. And so I had never had an adjustment for all the falls, and it really caught up to me when I was in my 20s. And I basically have, had been good at it, but I've dealt with back pain, my entire life. And gotten to where it's gotten a lot better, but when I ride horses, I really notice it, especially if I haven't been riding in a while. And so I hadn't been able to ride for about a month and a half, and I got back to riding, and all of a sudden I had so much pain in my back that I started taking pain pills before I would go riding, so I'd kind of not be in pain while I was riding. And then one day, after I'd been using the Healy for about a week, I got up and we were going to go riding, and I was like, I don't have any pain at all in my back. And I was really surprised. And I'd been to a chiropractor too. I didn't know where it was coming from, why I was having so much more pain than usual. And I realized I had no pain at all. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go riding today, and I'm not going to take any pills in advance and just see what happens. And I have to say, I went for this really good ride with Amelia, and we were cantering a lot and doing a lot of stuff that really jolts, the lower back. I had no pain. I didn't have any pain when I got off, and it stopped. I mean, to today, this has been I'd say about 5 or 6 days since then. I've had absolutely no pain in my lower back, and it was getting really bad. And I was like, I didn't even try to fix it. All I did was do some other stuff, and it still worked. And then the next thing that happened was I do a cleanse every, like on the equinoxes and the solstices. I always take a few days and I cleanse. And for anyone who's ever done a cleanse, this is where you might drink just water. Some people drink juice. I do something with honey and lemon and ginger water, but that's all I have. And the thing that was really amazing is there's a program there for fitness, it just says weight. And I thought, oh, I'll go do that one. So I clicked on that. And one of the hardest things about cleansing is just like the first day is so challenging to not go, oh, I'm just going to eat this. I can't do it. You know what I mean? It's like, I can do this. I can do it. And I found that when I did that, I clicked on the weight thing and I did whatever. I just, ran the frequencies. I'm on day 4 right now, and I have had absolutely no cravings at all. It's like when I drink, it's just like as if I had eaten meals during the day and I was just having a drink. Like it didn't have any energy for me, any kind of pull. And I've done this several times. I mean, I've done cleanses since I was in my probably early 30s, and this has been the smoothest, easiest, most grounded feeling. I went out for breakfast with my daughter today, and she had this great breakfast. I had no desire to taste it, try it, nothing. And I'm like, and that was just running the program once. That was just from one time. And then today I ran it one more time, and again, it just was like, oh, I just feel great. I feel fine. And for anybody who's ever cleansed, they'll know what I'm talking about. For other people, most people don't know what that is, to just stop eating for days and days at a time. But for me, it was pretty amazing to see that happen. And then the other thing was I ran a program that was about homeopathics. And I thought, oh, what's this? I'm like a kid in a candy shop now. I'm like, oh, what's that? And what's this? And it was absolutely phenomenal because it wasn't for me. It was actually for my daughter. But the stuff that came out, like it said, this remedy will deal with this, and everything was so specific to what had been going on for her, and then it was then delivering the remedy. And I was just like, it is like magic. I'm not kidding you. It is like the most amazing thing I have ever seen or experienced myself. So I wanted to throw in that little bit because I thought, well, it's going to take a month or two for me to have a testimonial. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So
that's incredible. And, it's one of those things like you're a human being in this universe. So at the end of the day, you're made up of the same thing that Heather's made up of, same thing Amelia's made up of, same thing my dog's made up of, and same thing I'm made up of, which is energy, protons, neutrons, electrons, quants, and I mean we could go on and on if we were scientists. And so we're all made up of this, we're all made up of the same thing. And so, to have a device that you can clip on your shirt, or you can put in your pocket, or put under your pillow, you can operate it with a smartphone or a tablet, and it can read your personal energy, your personal vibration, and deliver the exact frequencies that you need is unbelievable. And so I tell everybody, if you think of tuning forks, if you've ever seen that, you can have 2 tuning forks. You can hit one to a certain note, C, let's say, and then the other one, it picks up the vibration, it picks up the frequency, and it starts, vibrating to a perfect C. Well, our bodies at perfection vibrate at a perfect level. However, we have these surroundings, we have toxins, we have EMF, we have food, we have poisons, we have, people's bad intentions. I mean, it can go on and on and on. I mean, we're in a soup of muck that just it just messes up our vibrations, and that's, at the end of the day, that is the cause of every physical, mental, emotional, spiritual ailment, is that your energy is it's not optimized. It's not at its highest resonance. So what the whole goal of the Healy is to send the perfect resonance for you and bring your body, just like the tuning fork, into the perfect harmony. So
yeah,
it really is
and
cool.
and it doesn't. It's also amazing that it doesn't have any like negative side effects. Like it's just it's sort of like when you take a homeopathic. It's like when you take a homeopathic, it doesn't harm you. You can, if it's not for you, it won't. It just doesn't do anything. And if it is for you, it'll absolutely help you.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, they're very authentically. There are some cleansing side effects that if you're not aware of what's going on, if you're not hydrated, just like Heather is going through this cleanse right now. I mean, a cleanse is all about releasing toxins in the body. So when you're releasing toxins in the body, and her story is actually remarkable, because back in my younger days, I was crazy. I would do 40-day cleanses, 30-day cleanses, 50-day cleanses, juice cleanses, master cleanses, all that stuff. And yeah, those first 4, 5, 6 days are absolute hell normally, because you're switching over and you're releasing toxins. And so to be able to mitigate that is unbelievable. It really, it's good stuff.
I know. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you'd done so many cleanses, because boy, I'll tell you what, anybody that knows, So, like, some people may not really understand how we are vibration, but really, if you get down to the quantum level, the only, solid part of the atom would be the nucleus. And from the nucleus to the electrons is proportionally the same distance as from the Earth to the stars. So that's all this empty space. And then you go out to the electrons, it's just pure energy. So to get really an understanding of why this works this way, if you take all the nucleuses of all the people on the planet and put them together, it's the size of a grain of rice. And if you take all the nucleuses of the entire planet with everybody on it, it's the size of a sugar cube, and all the rest is empty space, right? Well, it's not empty, but it's space, right? It's got energy. But just wanted to throw that out for anybody who's like, well, I don't see how this could possibly work. Well, that's why, because it's all energy, it's all frequency. And so it's just, and for one other thing I want to throw in here, because I'm creating this for the people who have been doing the Giving Game at the Giving Game Foundation. But you'll hear, there's one of the lessons, so it's a 60-day e-course, one of the lessons has the game audio book on it. So I wrote a book called The Game, Nothing is As It Seems, and I made it into an audio book. It's like 14 hours long. But a lot of this, there's without being a spoiler alert, there is some stuff about Tesla in there. So I have been like a huge fan of Tesla for so long. And to actually find that I can have this Tesla experience, and that that I had the device all this time. And by the way, this Healy is like 2 inches by 2 inches, kind of square. It's really small. It's tiny, and you can just hook it onto your shirt or whatever. But it just kind of blows my mind that I'm actually getting to come full circle with this whole thing with Tesla, because he has been like my hero for such a long time, and I was so amazed that nobody ever talked about him in school, and how come I didn't learn about this, and to then come across this book, thinking that I knew quite a bit about Tesla, to come across this book and open to that chapter and then find out all this stuff I never knew was just amazing. So I hope that you'll hang in there and go listen to the Tesla chapter, because it just blew my mind. And Patrick, is there anything else you would like to add for everybody?
As you were talking about the space between the protons and the neutrons, and which is proportional to the Earth to the Moon, like all that stuff is incredible. And it's like when we look in a room, we only see the physical objects. So there's a lot more what we think is empty space. Well, that's actually called the quantum field or the information field. We're in it. Like we are surrounded by it. We are it, and that's what the Healy, for the most part, is really interacting with. And so it's just absolutely incredible stuff. And then I'll just say this, because speaking about full circle, like, you know, Heather and I's connection is something that's just so cool. That the audiobook that she was speaking about, I was given by my landlord when I lived in Maui, Hawaii in 2006. I was on my way to India to go for the first time, and I was terrified. I was going to fly to this strange land and learn all these spiritual things that I was like being given glimpses of, but had really, honestly, no idea on what it was all about. And I'm literally leaving for the airport, and my landlord says, "Hey, I have something for you. I want you to listen to this on the plane." And it was so funny because back in 2006, he gave me a CD, and so I listened to it on the plane, and it was just remarkable. So if you haven't listened to Heather's audiobook, it was just an amazing thing. And also,
hold it 1 second. Hold it 1 second. I do have to explain one thing. So what you're talking about is actually how to feel better when things get worse, which is like a 60-minute CD. But what I'm talking about when I talked about the game, it is actually a book I wrote in 2016. It's 330 pages, and it's and I made it as an audiobook with music, and it's on YouTube, and you can also listen to it on Apple, you know, whatever their thing is, and the Android version. So it's an actual 14-hour audiobook.
Oh, wow.
And so you must hear it. You will love it, Patrick. You will love it, love it, love it. So carry on. Go ahead. So that was how to feel better when things get worse. Yeah.
How to feel better when things get worse. So it was just incredible, and it really influenced me. And also there was a meditation at the end. It was a sound meditation that was on there. And when I got to India, I couldn't sleep because my time was all off. And I was listening to that meditation, and all of a sudden I was just told to get up, go to my computer, and start writing. And I had been having a lot of just really coincidental, crazy experiences that nobody could ever explain. And so I hadn't been writing them down, and I knew that I should. But Heather's book and Heather's meditation that was on there, it was just a huge influence. And so then fast forward probably 3 or 4 years later, I'm at work in Cancun, Mexico, and I was part of a website as a world traveler called Couchsurfing, and I get this message from this lady named Heather saying, "Hey, I'm coming to Cancun. I want to swim with dolphins with my kids. La 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 la. Can I stay with you?" And so I checked it out, and I started looking, and I think you have the link to your website on there, and I started going a little bit deeper, and I'm like, oh my God, that is the woman that recorded that CD that was given to me by my landlord. I mean, you know, you can't make this stuff up if you tried.
I know, it was unbelievable.
So you know, there's guides and people in your life that you're just connected to, and that's the kind of energy that, you know, that Heather and I have always had. And when she got to Healy, we didn't really do anything with it at first, but I knew at some point when the time was right that something would ignite it, because we don't do things that are just like, oh yeah, no big deal. No, it's like life-changing stuff. And so that's the kind of energy that we're dealing with. So it's cool. So that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, that's so perfect. Well, I do want to say that this is what happened. So last August, you know, we finally got together. We were talking about how to get it all set up and going and all that kind of stuff. And I just basically said, I'm like, Patrick, I'm telling you, there have been many things that I have, you know, thought were great products, and they were, I just could never get into like getting it out there and sharing it with people, because it's just, I don't want to go into business. This isn't something I want to do as a business. And that was kind of the thing. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody about this. I just want you to know that, you know, I'm just going to do my thing. But when all this happened a couple of weeks ago, and by the way, just this is so incidental, but I have to throw this in. The day before this happened, 2 days before, was the 27th was my birthday. It's in May. And Amelia and I were coming into Sedona. It was dark, and we literally saw hundreds of UFOs. And people are trying to say, oh, no, you didn't see that. Those were satellites. I'm telling you, it was not satellites. They were moving in formation, and we saw them, and then they disappeared after like 2 minutes. They were just instantly all gone. The same thing happened the next night. We were in the same spot, but it was an hour later. We saw them again, and the same thing happened, but we pulled over, and Amelia got a picture of them. It was, like, unbelievable. The next day was when I picked up the book and read the Tesla information. I was like, okay, you have my full attention. So I'm just really excited that we got to share this, and thank you for taking time to chat with me, Patrick. And yeah, for those of you who are on the website, because this is who I'm sending this to, and I'm sure other people will hear this at some point, but there are people who have been, part of this program that I've been doing for years. And this was when we met Patrick was back when Amelia and I went to Mexico. We were there for a month, and then we went to, or a few weeks, and no, we were there about a month. And then we went down to Guatemala, and we lived there for 7 months. And it was, Patrick, you were just so part of the magic. You weren't just a couch surfing guy. Patrick came and picked us up at the airport and came and helped us set up our tents, and it was just the most magical connection, and I'm so grateful we've been friends all this time and that we got to have this wonderful talk. So
no,
thank
absolutely.
you so much.
But think about it. Think about this for a second. All of a sudden, there's probably, let's say, I don't know, 1 million people on this website. And to get a message from somebody, and granted, if I was in Maui, where kind of the first connection took place, that makes more sense. But I'm in Mexico, thousands of miles away, and I get a message from this woman, and it just so happens to be the woman that was the author of this, CD that influenced my life in a massive way. I mean, you couldn't make that up if you tried. I mean, some of these scripts are so much better than Hollywood movies, and so it's just there's magic in that, and there's, I think what we're starting to move into is we're just accessing the magic a lot easier. It's not like it hasn't been available, but the ability to access the quantum field, to access the information field, is it's incredible. And I will tell you, I will just very, very honestly, I've been in sales my entire life, and I know every sales technique. I could do a 10-hour lecture on how to convince somebody to buy something. But with Healy, I don't ever have to do that. This is what I tell people: just feel into it, pray, meditate, ask, and that's it. That's all. That's it. And sometimes people don't. Just like you, right away. It wasn't just you; it was me too. I was in a weird place at the time, and it just didn't happen. But here we are now, and it's you don't even have to worry about it. It just comes. So accessing that field and interacting with it on a very real level, it just brings magic to your life.
It does, and it tells you a lot about divine timing, doesn't it? So just quickly, for anybody listening to this, especially people, if people are doing the giving game, everybody knows how to feel better when things get worse. Everybody knows the toning meditation, which is on track 6. But for anybody else who might be listening to this, you can either go to YouTube, and you can find me as Heather Noel, and you can put in the word, how to feel better when things get worse. Or you can come to the website, which is thegivinggamefoundation.com, and it has a 60-day free e-course, and the idea there is to demonetize spirituality, because the things that we're talking about right now, it all ties in with the giving game beautifully, and everything that you learned there, it makes so much sense. For those of you who've done the toning meditation, that will really help you understand what we're talking about, because everybody who does that meditation, you're working with psychoacoustic music, so there's frequencies right there, but you're using your own voice, and so you're singing, and it sends frequency and vibration through the body, and that's why people have the most amazing experiences with it, because even people who've never been able to experience what it is to meditate, like there are plenty of them. There's like, I can't do it. My mind's all over the place. But when you're breathing, you're singing, you're listening to this music, the vast majority of people will experience that feeling that they're looking to access the first time they do it. So it's pretty remarkable that you can work with this. So I would really suggest that you, when you're praying or meditating about if this is the right thing for you, go work with the toning meditation. It'll absolutely help you feel into everything, and you'll know for yourself. And again, as I said at the end of this, where you'll hear the chapter, you'll get some more ideas. So anyhow, thank you so much, Patrick. You are amazing. I'm so glad that we've had this. Gosh, it's been 12 years now, at least, that we've been friends. It's so amazing. I can't believe that Amelia was only 12 years old when you first met her. Now she's all grown up and all that good stuff. So
we feel even younger now than we did then, right?
I know. Isn't that the best? I love that.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you so much. I appreciate it all.
Thank you. Okay. Well, see you later, everybody, and just keep listening, and you'll get to hear all about Tesla's hidden medical devices. Thanks again, Patrick. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
This is from a book called Forbidden Knowledge, Revelations of a Multi-Dimensional Time Traveler by Jason Quitt and Bob Mitchell. Chapter 14, Tesla's Hidden Medical Devices. While most of us are familiar with Nikola Tesla's involvement with electricity, very little is known publicly about his obsession with medicine and the remarkable inventions he created to help keep people healthy. In 1903, when the electrical current wars were raging, Thomas Edison was pushing for DC, direct current, as the way to power the future, while Tesla insisted AC, alternating current, was the way to go. AC eventually won this war because electrical transmissions could be sent many miles through wires without losing strength, while DC lost strength. Tesla demonstrated this by lighting up the city of Hamilton, Ontario, and Buffalo, New York, using the hydro station at Niagara Falls. A statue of Tesla at this location commemorates this historical event. But Edison mounted a formidable campaign against AC. He insisted AC, which used much higher voltages than DC, was simply too dangerous to be used in homes. He conducted a media campaign designed to instill fear into the public by saying that AC was very dangerous and could kill very easily. He even made propaganda videos which played before the movies in all of the Edison theaters across the U.S. In fact, in an effort to showcase the dangers of AC and discredit Tesla, Edison held public demonstrations where he actually electrocuted animals such as dogs, cats, horses, and even an elephant in front of an audience. You can still watch an elephant named Topsy being electrocuted on YouTube. To provide even more convincing demonstration of the dangers of AC, Edison used it in 1899 to kill convicted murderer William Kemmler by using an AC-powered electric chair. Tesla naturally was horrified about the electrocution of these animals. He knew he needed to show the world that AC was safe. He not only maintained AC was safe, but also insisted that it could be used as a health cure of the future. He promised he would one day provide devices that everybody could use for healing purposes. Tesla was very passionate about healing. In 1896, Tesla took out a patent for his first ozone device, and in 1910 he formed the Tesla Ozone Company. He personally funded this project with $400,000 of his own money, an equivalent of about $11 million in today's currency. So this was a huge investment at that time. It also shows just how much he believed in the healing power of ozone. Ozone in this case was created by the sparks formed by high-frequency currents produced by Tesla's coil designs. While experimenting with high-voltage currents, Tesla noticed that his laboratory became filled with this strong-smelling gas. The UV light from the bolts of electricity converted the oxygen in the air to ozone gas. Tesla also noticed that this ozone gas killed the bacteria and mold in his laboratory. But there was another effect. While Tesla and his staff worked in the laboratory, they were being exposed to large amounts of high-frequency currents and ozone gas. He realized their physical and mental health were benefiting from this exposure. This led to some very interesting experiments in Stockholm, Sweden, and New York in 1912. Tesla designed and hid high-powered coils inside the walls of public schools. For 6 months, his machine blasted high-frequency voltage into the air, electrifying the children in these classrooms. These children were essentially bathed in millions of volts of electricity day in and day out. The test was designed to see if these students experienced any physical and mental changes compared to those not receiving the electricity blast. Today, it is highly unlikely that Tesla would ever have been given permission to conduct such an experiment on a group of unsuspecting children. But it was a different time back then, and Tesla insisted the experiment was simply the equivalent of exposing the children to the sun. He also insisted light from a light bulb was many times more harmful than the type of therapy being used on the students. The New York Times even published a piece on Tesla's experiments in its edition of August 18, 1912. Tesla believed this type of electrotherapy would one day replace all pharmaceutical drugs for neurological and digestive disorders. He also believed this was the cure for many ailments. Was he right? The results of the student experiment were eye-opening to say the least. The children exposed to this type of therapy grew an average of 2.5 inches taller than the controlled group and were physically stronger. Their class intelligence increased from an average of 75% to 92%, and 15 out of 50 students even scored 100 on all their tests. These students also appeared more active than the other students and didn't show any signs of fatigue. Also, their health improved, and they didn't get sick as much as the students who didn't receive the electrical charges. Tesla was so passionate about this work that he wanted every person to have access to its healing benefits. He also created a device called the Violet Ray, a handheld unit that generated the same healing benefits of his high-frequency current and ozone. He gave this patent out free of charge to any company that agreed to produce these machines so the public could access this technology with ease. They were even selling them in Sears' catalog. Tesla thought every home should have one of his devices. He knew the health healing potential of the device, but he also was strongly against the pharmaceutical industry because he believed his device and therapy would replace numerous and potentially dangerous drugs. Surprisingly, doctors making house calls at this time in history often brought a violet ray with them to treat their patients. Even the most famous psychic in the world, Edgar Cayce, mentioned the Tesla violet ray as the cure for various medical conditions in more than 900 separate channels. But Tesla was also interested in other healing technology using his coils. He created several different pulsed magnetic field devices. He believed electromagnetic fields produced by his coils strengthened and revitalized the human energy system. There's a famous picture of Tesla in the New York Recorder of 1896 healing Charles Broadway Roos with one of his PEMF devices. Roos was one of New York's most famous storekeepers at the time. Unfortunately, he went blind. Against the advice of his doctors, he offered $1 million to anyone who could cure his blindness, and Tesla tried to do so with one of his devices. Today, some companies are still using this same technology in their healing devices. Some are even FDA and Health Canada approved. Tesla discovered the healing power of magnetism, electricity, and the secrets of ozone. These technologies became very popular, and homes across America had them in their medicine cabinets in Tesla's day. Some doctors even started to prescribe these inventions and used them as their go-to device in their private practice. Electromedicine was exploding. Unfortunately, the pharmaceutical industry had other plans and the financial means and political influence to kill Tesla's medical cures. In fact, an all-out war was waged. The industry needed to do something to stop the spread of Tesla medicine. In 1910, the Carnegie Foundation and the Rockefeller Group sponsored the infamous Flexner Report, which shut down any medical school teaching subjects outside of mainstream pharmacology. The edict was so powerful that only a few medical schools survived, such as Johns Hopkins and McGill, and a handful of others connected with these groups. They were the only schools that could legally license doctors. Doctors who used any method besides pharmacology were threatened with a loss of their medical license. This is essentially how today's doctors lost their freedom to prescribe alternative therapies. To further discredit Tesla's medicine and his devices, the medical establishment started to describe the devices as quack devices. This term stuck. It became synonymous with discrediting any practitioner or device that used methods outside of mainstream pharmacology. If a doctor was caught using these devices or promoting them, they were threatened with the loss of their medical license and labeled a quack doctor. By the 1930s, all of these devices were subsequently banned by the FDA. Today, very few people have ever heard of them. This is an amazing history that has been swept under the rug by the medical profession, but we need this information and devices now more than ever. Most of these devices can be easily purchased and used for personal use. Companies such as Centurion Systems even hold Health Canada approval for their Tesla coil healing devices. Would it surprise you to learn that the veterinarian industry today uses Tesla's pulsed electromagnetic devices? Jason was invited to Wellington, Florida in 2014 by the owner of the Centurion Systems to show how Tesla technology was being used in the horse industry. He was given a tour of some of the most prestigious show horse stables in America. The horses used for racing and show jumping ranged in value from $1 million to $5 million. Having a horse of such value is quite an insurance risk. If they get injured or break a bone or get sick, you could be out millions of dollars. So this is not an option. Many of these stables are using the Centurion Tesla devices exclusively on their horses. These devices are helping them recover from their rigorous activities. At some racetracks, horses that break a leg are still euthanized. In fact, it wasn't too long ago that horses with a broken leg were put out of their misery by a bullet, sometimes right on the track in front of spectators. Euthanizing horses still happens, but there is now an alternative choice. Instead, they wrap a Tesla coil around the brake, and within a couple of weeks the bone is completely healed and they can race again. Impossible? Or is it just something the public is simply kept in the dark about? Even NASA holds patents in these types of technologies to heal astronauts from the damaging effects of muscle and skeletal atrophy. What makes this technology so amazing? It turns out that this type of technology is based off of the Earth's magnetic field. Tesla figured out that all biological life is intimately connected to the Earth's magnetic field. He discovered that our health is determined by the strength of our connection to this magnetic field. By stimulating the body with these fields, we can generate a healing effect. This is the secret of Tesla technology. Tesla just focused and reproduced natural earth phenomenon using his advanced coils. Tesla used magnetism and electricity to stimulate healing at the deepest level of our being. This was virtually free and extremely effective. Tesla knew this would replace the use of pharmaceutical drugs because it had no side effects. Let's examine football injuries. Broken collarbones are very common. It's also very painful and can take a long time to heal. But it's possible for players to recover from this injury and play football very quickly after being injured. How is this possible? It turns out that the sports medicine practitioners know about these technologies from the veterinarians, and these technologies are being used behind the scenes. Doesn't it seem odd how these devices are legal to be used on animals but not on humans? Did you know these devices are also available in the hospitals? Would it surprise you to learn it's not the first approach used? If you badly break a bone, they will first put you in a cast. If the cast does not heal you, then they will operate and put pins in your bone. If this does not heal, then they will wrap one of these devices on the bone, and within a couple of weeks your bone is healed. But why not use the technology first? Well, they can't make money if they did it this way. It's just the simple truth. In fact, these devices have also been found to be extremely effective in dealing with mental illness. Psychologists can only prescribe this type of therapy after 2 drugs have failed after a 6-month period. Something is wrong with this picture. But the most important discovery made by Tesla was ozone. It turns out that nothing is immune to the power of ozone. In fact, UV robots are used to enter rooms with patients infected with Ebola. The UV shines on every surface of the room, creating ozone. This kills the virus and sterilizes the space so that it can be used again. Ozone is 500 times a more powerful disinfectant than bleach. It's harmless and turns back into pure oxygen within 5 minutes. No superbug in the world can survive being exposed to ozone. This is the biggest conspiracy of the medical establishment. We have been taught that nothing is immune to the viruses and superbugs that plague our lives. We are told that we are in constant need of vaccinations to keep us safe. It turns out that ozone is the medical miracle we have been looking for. That's why Tesla put all his money into the Tesla Ozone Company in 1910. This is the most suppressed knowledge to date. When the Ebola outbreak took place in 2014, a Canadian group set up a medical tent in Sierra Leone to treat victims of this horrible disease. They administered the ozone by direct intravenous rectal infusion and through ionized water. This treatment was given to 4 critically ill patients who tested positive for the virus. Within 2 to 4 days, all of the patients made a full recovery. This group was subsequently visited by the U.S. Army. They were informed this was not a licensed therapy and that they would have to leave Sierra Leone immediately or be arrested. You can see why this information is so threatening to the medical mafia. But one of the easiest ways to receive ozone therapy is also free. Did you know that your eyes are the only place in your body where UV light can enter your bloodstream? When the UV hits your blood, it creates ozone, which is then spread through your circulatory system to kill all viruses, mold, and bacteria. This is done by sun gazing. When you let the light of the sun enter your eyes, you are allowing UV to create ozone in your blood. This was also well known throughout ancient cultures. Now, this doesn't mean you should stare at the sun without sunglasses for long periods of time. This is done the safest within the first 20 minutes of sunrise and sunset. There are so many capillaries in your eyes that 40% of your blood's volume passes through your eyes every 20 minutes. The sun is one of the most powerful healers we have. Interestingly, chemtrails effectively reflect UV radiation from the sun back into space. But we need UV for our immune systems. It is the only wavelength of light that can naturally produce vitamin D within our bodies. Have you ever noticed how everything we have has a coating of UV protection on it? It's in every pair of glasses, it's in windows. Why are we being completely shielded from this wavelength of light? Tesla realized that UV was one of the many secrets to the healing power of sun gazing. We need at least 15 minutes every day of full sun exposure to allow the production of vitamin D in our bodies. Long-term sun exposure is harmful. That's why the times around sunrise and sunset are the safest. These are the times when light entering our eyes is harmless. But it's also the time when sunlight has the most benefit to us. Skin cancer is also found in people who are UV light deficient. We are taught to fear the sun when it's the sun that is our greatest connection to source and healing. In fact, medical statistics indicate that the lowest rate of skin cancer occurs the closer you are to the equator. It's the chemicals in lotion and lack of proper light that are the main cause of health problems. It's also the excessive buildup of toxins in the body. Our skin is one of our largest organs. It excretes toxins from our body. Sun exposure can damage areas of the skin where toxins have built up. Now you might wonder that if ozone kills everything, then why would it not also damage the cells in our bodies? Humans have something that other organisms do not. It is called SODs, superoxide dismutase. This enzyme is found within all our cells. It is this enzyme that makes us immune to the harmful effects of ozone. If we have a cell that is damaged or cancerous, then the ozone will kill that cell and leave the other healthy cells alone. Even Otto Warburg, one of the world's top biochemists and sole recipient of the Nobel Prize in Physiology in 1931, publicly stated in many papers that no virus or cancer can survive in an oxygen-rich environment. Warburg said, "Cancer, above all other diseases, has countless secondary causes, but even for cancer there is only one prime cause. The prime cause of cancer is the replacement of the respiration of oxygen in normal body cells by a fermentation of sugar. All natural cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen, but cancer cells can live without oxygen. a rule without exception. Deprive a cell 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours and it might become cancerous. Why have we ignored more than 100 years of documented research in these subjects? Why are these topics buried in obscurity? What powers would this information threaten if publicly accepted? This line of research made Tesla more of a threat to the establishment than even his goal of giving the world free energy.